Chips are coming to iconic Keeneland this November 4th and 5th. Over 2 days and 14 championship races, the pinnacle of international thoroughbred racing will put the most jaw-dropping, heart-pounding spectacle before your very eyes, culminating in the defining event of the horse racing season, the $6 million Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. Visit breederscup.com/2022 for more information and catch all the action live on November 4th and 5th.
Locked On Warriors is a daily podcast covering your favorite team, the defending world champion Golden State Warriors. I'm your host, Cyrus Softs, and every Monday through Friday, Locked On Warriors brings you all of the biggest Warriors stories in around 30 minutes. We cover Stephen Curry and the dynasty that is one of the greatest teams in the history of this beautiful game. Listen to the Locked On Warriors podcast every day on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention Marines, military personnel, families, and contractors who were stationed at Camp Lejeune. Were you present at Camp Lejeune between August 1953 and December of 1987? You may be entitled to significant compensation. For nearly 34 years, those in the Marine Corps' base Camp Lejeune were exposed to contaminated drinking water, resulting in devastating injuries, including several forms of cancer, adverse birth outcomes, Parkinson's disease, and more. North Carolina's procedural laws have prevented victims from getting the justice they deserve, but passage of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act of 2022 would allow you or a loved one to file lawsuits seeking compensation for illnesses and injuries linked to the toxic water. Call today for your free consultation. 800-610-9256. Let our experienced attorneys fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call 800-610-9256. That's 800-610-9256. Again, 800-610-9256.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
One pill in the morning, 24 hours, zero heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
And a little bit of chicken fried. The Zach Brown Band is coming to Oakland Arena on November 6th, and 95.7 The Game wants you to be there.
Wishing I was deep in the water somewhere.
For your shot to win tickets, head to 957thegame.com/contests.
So, how's your research going?
Surprising. After I figured out the top-rated TVs in our price range, I went shopping for deals.
And who's the best?
It wasn't the internet, and it wasn't the warehouse club.
But?
It was video only. They had better deals on the Samsung, LG, and the Sony TVs that got the highest scores.
Better than online and at the club?
I know! Video only beat them all. And now we can afford an even better model for the same price. My research really paid off.
If we buy it video only.
Exactly. Otherwise, we'll be sorry.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or dishwashers, but you will find the best deals on the best TVs, soundbars, and home theater systems. Shop around, but then make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
You'll be sorry.
In Mountain View, San Mateo, Union City, Dublin, and San Rafael.
Video Only.
When Big Mobile charges you an arm and a leg, they're taking your money and your power. And your arm and leg. Boost Mobile gives your power back with an unlimited plan for $25 a month on one of America's largest 5G networks. We can't give you back your arm and your leg because we're not qualified surgeons. Unless you're an iguana who can grow limbs back. Switch to Boost and get an unlimited plan for $25 a month. Boost Mobile. Unleash your power. New customers only. One line, $25 per month with autopay. Additional restrictions apply. See boostmobile.com for details.
Are you kidding me? Gas prices are up again? Somebody has to do something.
Well, someone did. That's why I use Upside.
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that pays you back real money for every gallon of gas or diesel you buy. I just earned 25 cents back on every gallon of this tank.
Hold on. So the Upside app is free and you actually get cash back every time you use it? No strings attached?
Yep, it's awesome. Check it out. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your Upside cash, just transfer it to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card. Upside users have already earned over $200 million. Now it's your turn. Download the free Upside app and get cash back on every gallon of gas. Use promo code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first fill-up. That's code GOLF. Use code GOLF for an extra 25 cents per gallon back in your first fill-up. Cashback's not available in gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco.
Always live on the free Odyssey app. Welcome to the greatest show on hardwood.
Left side of the circle, it's money, cold, hard cash for Stephen Curry.
The NBA champions are back to defend their title. And it starts now. This is Warriors Live.
Holy cannoli, this is crazy.
Presented by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi. Unbeatable internet, only from Xfinity.
All right, we welcome you in. John Dickinson getting you closer to tip-off as the Warriors do take on the Charlotte Hornets this afternoon here on 95.7 The Game, as the Dubs beginning a 5-game road trip that will see them play in Charlotte tonight, at Detroit tomorrow. So a couple of back-to-backs on this trip, then an off day before they take on the Miami Heat, on to Orlando, and then they will close out the 5-game trip in New Orleans on Friday. So 5 games in 7 nights with a pair of back-to-backs, and a lot of Warrior players, I think, going to get an opportunity to play on this road trip as the Warriors look to extend on their 3-2 record here after beginning the season with 4 of 5 at home, and the Warriors going 3-1 on the home portion of that 4-5. They lost, of course, the other night in Phoenix to the Suns, but bounced back and beat the Miami Heat inside Chase Center by a final score of 123-110 in that ball game on Thursday. So we got a lot to get to here between now and 3:30, as we'll hand it off at that point to Tim Roy and to Jim Barnett, who will have the call of this game for you this afternoon here on 95.7 The Game. And the Warriors looking to continue to try and play better defense, which has been a common theme in the early going of this season for Golden State. Warriors with a better defensive effort against the Heat on Thursday after games where they gave up 70 points in the first half to Denver and Sacramento and Phoenix in what wound up being a stretch where they dropped 2 of 3, the lone win coming against the Sacramento Kings. But the Warriors, better defensive effort. I would say probably their best or second best defensive effort of the season against a Miami Heat team that was on the second of a back-to-back. But yeah, 59 points only allowed in that first half for the Warriors, and the Warriors just much more of a connected type game where the defense was better. It was giving them better chances to score on the offensive end, and the game was just, I think, better connected. You heard Steve Kerr say it after the game. Steph and Curry, I mean, what can you say about Steph, who just continues to dominate over the 5 games? 33 more points for Steph, and this one always a special one for Steph Curry as he heads to Charlotte, growing up in Charlotte, attending Charlotte Christian High School and then Davidson University, the son, of course, of Del Curry, former NBAer and Charlotte Hornet, and now current Hornets broadcaster as well on the television side. So always fun when Steph can head home. And there have been a couple of instances over the course of the last few years where Steph has been unable to play in his hometown. A couple of years back, came down right before tip-off where he just wasn't feeling well and wound up missing that game. And the Warriors had one of their better performances of the season in that 2020-2021 pandemic-shortened campaign. And that was a game where, if you remember, Draymond Green, a little bit of a meltdown late. The Warriors had, I think it was an 8-point lead with about a minute and a half to go in that one. And Terry Rozier took it over, and the Warriors wound up having one of their more difficult losses of the season in a game that could have been one of their better wins without Steph. But Steph always looking forward to going back and playing in Charlotte. Let's go ahead and get to our injury report for this afternoon's game, as it is, as always, brought to you by Boxer & Gerson. Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more info, visit boxerlaw.com. And just taking a quick look at the report for the Warriors, Dante DiVincenzo, he will be out once again with the left hamstring strain, as he's missed the last couple of ball games. DiVincenzo coming down with that injury on Sunday in San Francisco against Sacramento. And no Andre Iguodala for the Warriors as well, as he continues to ramp up. the left hip injury management. So no Iguodala, as the Warriors will be without he and Dante DiVincenzo. On the Charlotte side of things, there are some players that play a role for Charlotte, including LaMelo Ball, the headliner, out, and he has been out with a left ankle sprain and continues to be out here moving forward for LaMelo. So, yeah, no LaMelo Ball, who highlights any matchup, of course, with the Warriors, considering the decision that was made going back a couple of years with James Wiseman being the number 2 overall pick. Of course, LaMelo on the board for the Warriors at that point in that draft. But no LaMelo Ball tonight on the Charlotte side. Cody Martin, doubtful, left quad soreness, and Terry Rozier, Scary Terry, who's put a scare into the Warriors from time to time over the years, doubtful as well with a right ankle sprain. So that your injury report for this one, brought to you by Boxer and Gerson. And good time to also point out the fact that the Warriors, as we mentioned, the schedule and the layout, Steve Kerr telling reporters before the game that everybody that's healthy is available for the Warriors, but any decision about tomorrow and resting of players on the second of a back-to-back, that decision set to be made after the game. And I think the Warriors are going to have a couple of opportunities. See how this game plays out. A couple opportunities on this trip, whether it's tomorrow in the second of a back-to-back at Detroit, or whether it's the 5th game in 7 nights in the second game of the next back-to-back against the Pelicans, as the Warriors are playing Orlando this coming Thursday, and then the Pelicans in New Orleans Friday. 2 opportunities, I think, for what I've coined as developmental games. Rest and development games, I think, is another way to characterize it. And those are going to be the games where Steph and Clay and maybe even Draymond in all likelihood, and I think Wiggins from time to time, although probably less than the others, are going to take a back seat and take a night off, and Jordan Poole and Jonathan Kuminga and maybe Moses Moody can step into the starting lineup, potentially with James Wiseman, and there's going to be a lot of minutes for a lot of the young players to go around. And so I'm fascinated to see how the Warriors handle that, because for as much conversation as there has been about the roles of the young players, the impact of the young players on this Warriors team in these early stretches of the season, I think so much of the development is going to be based on these handful of games. And I think it could be anywhere between 5 and 10 games this season. I know 15 back-to-backs on the schedule. I think there were 7 or 8 of them last year where the Warriors essentially just said, hey, the big guys are getting the night off, and that's going to give opportunities for others. And the Warriors were able to win a few of those games last year, including one in Detroit against the Pistons. Early part of the year, they were able to win with Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins going off, filling in the stead of the big 3. Of course, Klay Thompson had already been out at that point. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the Warriors manage it. They also had wins at San Antonio and Miami during the course of the season last year, when they were able to rest the Stephs and the Clays and the Draymonds. And so perfect opportunity if you can win a handful of those games. Let's say you do it 7 or 8 times. If you could win 3 or 4 of those games, then that's a win. And I think it really helps along the lines of the greater good for the Warriors to be able to do that. So something to monitor. Who plays tonight? And how does Steve Kerr manage the rotation? And how does that play into the fact that where tomorrow you could look at a situation where it could be one of those nights where the young players are getting a lot of run. John Dickinson here, Warriors Live, sponsored by Xfinity Internet. Better streaming with our Flex 4K device, voice remote, and Peacock Premium, all at no extra cost, no strings attached. The Warriors and the Charlotte Hornets beginning of a 5-game road trip for Golden State. And you look at this one, Warriors' first of 2 meetings against the Hornets on this season, as they play tonight at Spectrum Center in Charlotte. And then the Hornets will return the favor and play at Chase Center Tuesday, December 27th and a week full of home games for the Warriors to close out the calendar year portion of 2022. So they'll play on that Tuesday night at the end of December in San Francisco, and then that'll be it for the 2-game season series between these two clubs, the Warriors and the Hornets. Let's continue on here with our Warriors Advantage for this afternoon. Our Warriors Advantage brought to you by United Healthcare, offering Medicare Advantage plans. Go to uhc.com for more information. And our Warriors Advantage, it's time to pay homage to Steph Curry, I think, in this one, and what he's been able to do. 30 or more points for Steph Curry. He is the system. He is the Warriors Advantage. And for these first 5 games of the year, Steph has had at least 30. And this is the 3rd time in his career that he's scored at least 30 in 4 of the first 5 games in a season, as he also did it in 2015 and 2018. So Steph, not new, but averaging and scoring at least 30 in 4 of these first 5, and Curry just been terrific. At least 30 and 7 3-pointers twice in the first 5 games of the season as well, which is the 4th time in NBA history that a player has done that. So Curry did it a couple of times previously. Kemba Walker, the former Hornet, was another one of the players that did it. And we mentioned Steph back in his hometown, averaging 26.5 points per game against the Hornets in his career, which is, interestingly enough, the 4th highest against any team. Who does Steph Curry average more points against in his NBA career when you start circling through it? Washington, 28.6. Portland, 27.7. We've seen him have some huge games against Portland over the years, and 26.7 against Toronto. So Charlotte at the top of that list 4 times against the Hornets has Curry scored 30 or more points. He had a couple of 40-point games, one back in December of 2015, that during the Warriors' run to begin the season at 24-0. He also had 43 in December of 2013, both of those games in Charlotte. So Steph hasn't always been able to play against his hometown Hornets, but when he has been able to play against the Hornets and when he has been able to play in Charlotte, Steph has been a big-time advantage for the Warriors, as he is each and every night. So Steph Curry back home in Charlotte for this one. Your Warriors Advantage, brought to you by United Healthcare. Again, offering Medicare Advantage plans. Go to uhc.com for more information. We roll on here on Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game with John Dickinson, getting you closer to tip-off as the Warriors looking to build a little bit of momentum. You look at this Charlotte team. We talked about the players of note that are out, including LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier, doubtful this one for Charlotte. The Hornets losing last night to Orlando, and not a pretty game for the Hornets as they got beat in Orlando 113-93, and the game actually wasn't that close. The Hornets put a 40 spot up in the 4th quarter and outscored the Magic by 9. They were down by 29 in that one going to the 4th quarter, ended up losing by 20, trailed by as many as 32, and the Magic at that point were 0-5. So the Hornets came into that one at 2-2. Orlando desperate for a victory at this point at 0-5, and you look at it, and Charlotte losing that one in ugly fashion, and so they're trying to bounce back, but this is the 2nd consecutive game where the Warriors have an advantage as far as the rest advantage. Yes, traveling cross country, yes, beginning a long road trip, but the Warriors able to travel yesterday, and the Hornets coming back from Orlando, short trip there, but 2nd game in a row where the Warriors have a little bit of a rest advantage. Miami had played in Portland the night before. The Heat played the Warriors inside Chase Center. Still some players of note for the Hornets, as they are once again coached by Steve Clifford. Clifford, of course, had been gone and then had been with the Hornets and then gone to Orlando, and now back with the Hornets. Dennis Smith Jr., old buddy Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, P.J. Washington, and Mason Plumlee. The Hornets possible and probable starters. That was the 5 that was able to start the game last night in Charlotte. So talented squad, but I think the kind of game where the Warriors really do have an advantage. So John Dickinson here, Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game. Let's hear a couple of cuts from Steve Kerr's pregame press conference in Charlotte. One note that we already addressed, which is Steph Curry coming back home. The head coach of the Warriors, he addressed Curry coming back home and playing in Charlotte.
You know, he's the hometown hero here, but he seems to be a hero everywhere we go. I do remember a few years ago, one of our coaches was working him out before the game, and he said you couldn't imagine how many people were coming up to say hello during his shooting workout. And Steph was telling him, well, that was my barber, that was my dentist, that was my teacher. And I talked to Steph today about his ticket situation, and obviously he always has a ton of people come into the game here. So it's, one time a year, it's a big night for him.
Yeah, big night for him. Big night, I think, for the people of Charlotte. And as we mentioned in our Warriors Advantage portion of the program, he likes to put on a show for his folks when he has been able to play. And unfortunately, there's been a few times where he's been injured right before the Warriors were set to make trip to Charlotte, and then mentioned that game a couple of years ago during COVID where he was out on the floor and just wasn't feeling right and wound up leaving the game right as tip-off was set to commence. And he wound up missing that game in what could have been a big Warriors win, but they faltered late in that one. Another topic of conversation surrounding the Warriors is Jonathan Kuminga and his playing time or lack of playing time. Steve Kerr carving out some minutes for him in the Warriors rotation for the first couple of games of this season, and then Kuminga finding his way out of the Warriors rotation over the last handful of games. Did get put in during blowout duty against Sacramento with the Warriors ahead. Didn't play well in that instance. Got put back in after Klay Thompson had been ejected from the game in Phoenix on Tuesday night, and the Warriors were down a man. And I think Steve Kerr looking for a spark, looking for some energy in that game. And Kuminga did play with more of a purpose, I thought, even with the Warriors down big in Phoenix and on their way to losing by what wound up being a significant margin. But Kuminga played better in that game, and then a DNP coach's decision for Kuminga against Miami. But Steve Kerr was asked about it on Thursday night. He got asked about it pregame again, and he talked about just the situation with Kuminga and compared it to another Warriors player who's been able to rebound and do some very big things.
He's in very similar boat to where Looney was, where Jordan was early in Jordan's career. It just takes time. It takes time to learn everything that's coming at you, to develop. The difference is, we're coming off a championship right now. When Jordan came on board, he was thrust into the rotation. He wasn't ready for it, and that showed. We're the defending champs, so there's not a lot of easy minutes to give to anybody. So as long as JK keeps working, keeps developing, things are going to work out fine for him. And he's going to get his chance usually sooner rather than later in this league.
Yeah, and I think sooner rather than later could be tonight. I think more likely tomorrow. I think the one thing you've seen is the Warriors are not shy about throwing guys in there, and Steve Kerr will use everybody. But I think that the key to me, more than the games like tomorrow, has the potential to be the full-blown developmental games where he's going to know that he might play 25 to 30 minutes. I think the key for Jonathan Kuminga is to keep working and to do enough of the little things to where he's able to use games like tomorrow as a means to get him in a position to where he can play effectively for this team when he's getting shorter run. Like, to me, it's more about, can Kuminga fit his game into the box of, I'm going to play 1 6-minute shift a half, and I'm going to have to really help this team win, whether it's running the floor, whether it's rebounding, whether it's defending. It's doing the little things that help complement winning at a high level, because it's twofold. It's bigger picture player development for what type of player with what type of ceiling can Jonathan Kuminga be over the course of his career. That's one branch down the road. The other fork in the road on the other side is, how can Jonathan Kuminga help solidify this Warriors bench for this season in a manner to where he can help this team in the playoffs and win an NBA championship. Because the reality right now is Jonathan Kuminga would not be a trusted player in the playoffs. He just wouldn't be. He'd be playing by necessity, not by choice, if you're Steve Kerr. Now, there's plenty of time to get to a point where Steve Kerr can trust him. I mean, we got 5.5 months until the playoffs go, but I think using games like tomorrow, and look, we don't know if the Warriors are officially going to be resting players tomorrow. I think they probably will, and the announcement on that will come out after the game. But use that game, if you're Jonathan Kuminga and other young players, to put yourself in a spot where you can then fit that game into the context of, if you're playing 12 to 15 minutes, can you really help a team win on that note? So Warriors Live rolling on here. Presented by Xfinity Internet, better streaming with our Flex 4K device, voice remote, and Peacock Premium, all at no extra cost, no strings attached. John Dickinson here on 95.7 The Game as the Warriors and the Hornets ready to roll here as Golden State trying to improve to 4-2 on the young season, first of the 5-game road trip. Another conversation topic over the last couple of days, Klay Thompson reacting to Charles Barkley's comments from Tuesday night, and Charles saying Klay may be on the downside. Here's a quick hitter from Klay on reacting to Charles.
I got one thing to say. It hurts when someone like Charles Barkley, with the platform he has, says you're not the same player prior to the injuries you have. It's like, no duh, man. Consecutive years, tore my ACL, my Achilles in consecutive years, and still help a team win a championship. I mean, it hurt hearing that, because it's like, man, I put in so much freaking effort to get back to this point. Like, it's hard to even put into words what I had to do to be the player I am today. And it's like, played 57 games in 3 years. Like, give me some freaking time to get that back, and just hear someone say, oh, he's not the same as he was prior to the injuries. Like, duh. Like, who goes through something like that and comes back? I don't know. It just hurt my heart hearing that. But you know what? I'm going to internalize it, and it's going to be fuel for me to be even better. And I think I'm very proud of what we accomplished last year, and I feel like I was a huge part of it. I'm not going to let these injuries be a crutch for me. I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to have a great year. I bet on that.
And I wouldn't bet against Klay Thompson having a great year. I know I've mentioned it the last couple of games on the post-game show. And it's different for Klay, because I think Klay wants to be back to the level that he was before. But I think everybody's got to just pump the brakes and take a deep breath on the notion that Klay is necessarily going to be back to where he was 4 years ago at this point. There's a level I think he can play at that helps the Warriors win and contend for an NBA championship that allows for him to still be pretty good, but not necessarily have to be at that level that he was before. Final minute here, Warriors Live on 95.7 The Game. Time now for Taking It to the Bank. Who will take it to the bank tonight? Brought to you by Fremont Bank. Full-service banking, no compromises. And I'm going to give Klay Thompson the nod here. I know, called a big game for Jordan Poole on Thursday. Didn't quite happen in that one, although Poole did have 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting. But I'm calling a big Klay game tonight. I think Klay is going to take it to the bank, and one of the more efficient, relaxed shooting efforts, knowing that he may be getting tomorrow night off. So yeah, Klay Thompson, take it to the bank tonight. Brought to you by Fremont Bank, full service banking, no compromises. That'll do it for me. Join me after the ball game as I'll have Warriors wrap up for you. But Tim Roy and Jim Barnett, they've got the call. It's the Warriors and it's the Charlotte Hornets, and it's straight ahead right here on 95.7 The Game.
Okay, 3 more climbers, 7 loggers.
Ted's sustainably sourced logging company is growing a new branch.
What about truck driver contracts?
Which means a new HR manager will be the first hire to fall.
Then we'll need to staff up the warehouse.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Fremont Bank. If there's one thing we understand more than anybody, it's that it takes a local bank to really get the needs of local businesses. Fremont Bank has the flexibility and motivation to service your business loan needs like other banks can't or won't. With our full suite of business loan